Hello and welcome to Faces with Columbus City Schools. Today we are exploring how reading opens the door to self-expression, prosperity, and growth. We will look into the challenges and barriers our children are experiencing related to literacy to uncover how we can foster a love of reading in an increasingly high-tech world.
Our first stop will be at the Columbus Metropolitan Library and conclude with our expert roundtable, which includes Jennifer I, the Director of Literacy, Dr. Tara Baker, Director of Early Childhood Education, and Cheryl Wyatt, Vice President of Success by Third Grade with the United Way. We are excited about this vital community conversation and are pleased you can join us.
But before we talk, let's catch up on what's happening in Columbus City Schools with this week's CCS Roundup.
Greetings and welcome to this week's highlights from across the district. Friday marked Ohio Tech Day, which is a statewide celebration of technology and a day to raise awareness for the role technology has played in Ohio's economy. The day featured all sorts of hands-on activities, lessons, and webinars for students throughout the district, and a special experience for some students at Columbus Downtown High School. As part of the day's activities, Columbus Downtown High School programming and software development students got a unique learning opportunity to spend a morning with Meta. Students learned what it would be like to be a Meta worker and toured the campus in New Albany. Last week, our transportation team started their annual bus safety training across the district as part of Bus Safety Day. Students participated in the bus safety training lessons and learned everything from proper bus etiquette to essential safety tips while riding the bus. Fort Hays students also got some safety lessons recently about distracted driving. In partnership with the Maria Tiberi Foundation, the Fort Hays Metropolitan Education Center is the third school to open a driving simulator lab in Ohio. It's the first of its kind in Columbus City Schools and home to 25 driving simulators that students can use to focus on better driving skills. Dom Tiberi, 10 TV sports anchor, started the foundation after his daughter Maria was killed in a car accident. The goal of the simulation lab is to prevent distracted driving and save lives.
Good evening and welcome to Face to Face with Columbus City Schools. I am your host, Seneca Bing, Interim Director of Family and Community Engagement, and we are here in the beautiful Columbus Metropolitan Library where you'll receive a lot of information about all of the wonderful things that they have. I am joined by Ms. Dorcas Jones, who is the Communications Manager here at the library. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So we are just in this beautiful space. We see that there are children around and there are people around, and we just want to know about the awesome things that you have. First, you celebrated 150 years here at the library.
Yeah, so we've been celebrating 150 years all year long. Our official birthday was March the 4th. Columbus Metropolitan Library was founded March the 4th, 1873. We started in a reading room in the former Columbus City Hall. And now we are 23 locations strong.
So tell us a little bit about where we are now.
We are in Main Children's area. They have a very large separate area for our children's department and for our youngest customers. We call them Young Minds. It's one of the focuses, one of our main focuses here at the library. We have story times. We have Ready for Kindergarten success camps where families can come in and start learning about some of the skills our youngest children need as they head into kindergarten. Things like cutting, things about letter identification, education. There's a lot of singing, there's a lot of dancing involved, and so we always want to make sure that our Central Ohio residents know that we have story times located in all 23 of our locations, so it's not just limited to here at Maine, and it's an opportunity to get engaged with your children as they learn some of the skills that they need as they move forward through preschool and into kindergarten. ColumbusLibrary.org has all of the information that you need to find out which location has story time at which times. Most of our locations have story times at multiple times during the week. So depending on people's schedules, right? You may be able to make an 11 o'clock, or you may be able to make a 10 o'clock, or if you have different locations near you, some of us are located where we have different locations and different branches in our area, then you can decide where you would like to go. So yeah, we encourage everybody to visit ColumbusLibrary.org to find out more about our story time. Sometimes we think of the library as a place where you get a lot, but we really believe that the library can be a vibrant place where people can have fun, where our children can learn, and the adults might be able to pick up a couple books or tips or resources as well.
Early childhood education is very, very important. However, we also have teens and tweens who need support in the library as well, and you have an awesome space for them. So can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so here at Maine Library, we have a dedicated space for our tweens and teens, ages 12 to 17, to be able to relax, to be able to have fun, and to be able to have some specialized programs and resources specific to them. So we have our U-Media spaces where teens and tweens can learn how to do music production. They can learn how to do some video production. We also have opportunities for them to just relax and play games. We have lots of graphic novels, which is really popular for that age range as well. And then on all of our locations also have dedicated U-Media kits or U-Media spaces, and U-Media is where we do that video production and that music production. We have staff, we have volunteers who are able to help in our school help centers, which are really important and really, really packed usually after school, because it's an opportunity for our young students to come in and say, hey, I'm working on this project, or hey, I need some help with this English homework, or hey, I need some help with this math. And so we have volunteers and staff on hand in every location. We have school help centers for after school to help out with those projects. And those are really important because it's also an opportunity for our young people to feel safe and to have some adults that they can talk to, or have adults that they know they can ask for help. Which of course is really important as you're growing up and you're changing, and there's lots of things coming at you in different directions. And so we count ourselves really privileged to be able to be that space for our tweens and their teens as they're developing and going through various changes and challenges sometimes in life. So we invite our customers, of course, to take advantage of the spaces that we have for our young customers, 12 to 17. Many of our newest buildings have separate teen spaces specific to them. And then even in some of our other locations that maybe don't have the same kind of space, we definitely still have staff on hand who are willing to be there and to help whenever they can.
Oh, so a separate teen space. So mom and dad can't be right there with them. They can go into their own little space.
They could, yes. The teens can have their own space. Grown-ups can have their own space to browse as they want to. And in a lot of those spaces, we do have separate books and resources that might be of more interest to our 12 to 17-year-olds, and maybe our grown-ups don't necessarily have the same interest, or they might. I've been known to read a young adult or teen novel here or there.
There's nothing wrong with it, as long as you're reading.
Right.
How might a teen, if I'm getting out of school and I just want to go to the library, do I just walk in, or do I need to schedule an appointment? What needs to happen?
No appointments necessary. We are open to all. Come in. If the library's open, we're available for you. So come on in after school. Most teens know exactly that school help center where to go to. That's their first stop, or the teen space. And if not, just ask somebody on staff. Ask one of our staff. We are usually playing it right there in the front to say, hey, how you doing? And let them know if there's something particular of interest to you that you want to do, or that you need help with, or that you want to find. And we're always happy to help.
That is awesome. And I must say, I was here in the library when I was a Columbus Alternative High School student. They would always have our summer reading books ready for us. So teens, you heard it best. Come here if you need support, if you need help. You have people that are here willing to help and support you as you are doing your work and whatever else you need, but it's important to continue to read.
Come on in to your nearest Columbus Metropolitan Library location. Stop in for books, reading, and story times. Reserve meeting rooms, computers, and copies scanned and faxed. Join us for programs, classes, and author talks. Get help with research or uncovering your family's history. Whatever brings you in, we're here and ready to help. Come on in. The only thing overdue is you. Visit columbuslibrary.org to learn more. 23 locations throughout Franklin County.
Welcome to Faces with Columbus City Schools. I'm your host, Seneca Bing, and we know that our district has a goal, a board goal around literacy and to strengthen our literacy proficiency. And we want to get into that, but we also want to get into some of the amazing things that we have happening in Columbus City Schools. So joining me to my right is Ms. Cheryl Wyatt, who is the VP of Success by Third Grade at the United Way of Central Ohio. I have in the middle here Jennifer I, who is joining us, and she is our Director of Literacy Extraordinaire for Columbus City Schools. And then I also have Dr. Tara Baker. I always live vicariously through the doctor. Dr. Tara Baker, who is the Director of Early Childhood Education for Columbus City Schools. So you have our smaller babies with you. So we'll just jump right into the conversation and really think about what is the current landscape of reading literacy in America.
We've got to focus on what is important, right? We know that we have over 130 million adults in the United States that currently are illiterate. We have roughly 1/3 of all students 4th grade and above who are not making reading proficiency levels that we expect them to read. But we also know on the flip side of that, that literacy is the great equalizer, right? It not only is a score for if I can read a book, but it's a score of my mental well-being, my social and emotional well-being. It's how well I do in math, how well I do in science and social studies. It's what gets our children out of poverty. It's generational change. So yes, we've got these reading wars that are going on, but we've got to focus on the important piece of what's going to work, what the science shows us, what evidence shows us, to pull those generations of poverty and low-income families out of that rut.
So Jen didn't know she was tagging right into the conversation that I was going to have, and I think that's a part of why the United Way of Central Ohio is involved, because we recognize and understand that education opens up the doors. Readings open up the doors, and we also recognize that there are social conditions and challenges that our young people are facing, that families are facing. There are lived experiences that impact how young people are showing up and how families may be showing up. And it is certainly not about families not wanting the best for their children. They are navigating social conditions in life. And with our work at Success by Third Grade is recognizing that, is partnering with districts like Columbus City Schools, is really beginning to take a look at what are those barriers, what are those limitations, what are those disparities that are impacting even our younger babies who are walking into this kind of pre-early education space, so that we can equip them. I think as a community too, recognizing that we have collective accountability. Educational systems in and of themselves cannot do it alone. And so I think the work of United Way, particularly over 100 years of service, has really been about how do we mobilize the caring power of the community, and how do we recognize that this is a collective challenge. It needs a collective response. We have collective accountability so that we can get collective outcomes.
Absolutely. I agree, and like you said, it starts with the pre-K, right? Or even before that, really, birth to 5 is really where we need to focus for the literacy. And so that's one of the things that one of the charges that we're doing with the early literacy initiatives that we have, and is partnering, like Jen and I do a lot of collaboration, and she's very inclusive of early childhood into the literacy initiatives, making sure that we're attending all of the events, that we're passing out the literature, that our students are receiving books, that we're working with parents and engaging parents on what the things are that they can do at home and what that might look like, because it'll look slightly different than what is going on in school, but it is still, they're the first teachers, so it's essential.
To become good readers, children must develop phonemic awareness, phonics skills, the ability to read words in the text in an accurate and fluent manner, and the ability to apply comprehension strategies consciously and deliberately as they read. And so I appreciate the conversation that we're having about that, and even talking about a little bit the difference between, right, phonemic awareness and phonics skills. So can you give a quick snippet of like that difference of those two?
Absolutely. So you have phonological awareness and you have phonics. So everybody thinks that reading is a visual skill, and quite frankly, it's not. It's an auditory skill. We hear sounds before we see sounds and before we make those connections. So that's step one, is to hear the sounds in a word. Take all of the writing away from it. And then we bring in the relationship between the sound and the letters that we see on the page, and we have to be able to match them. And then we have 26 letters in the alphabet, but we have way more sounds than that. So what letters combine together to make different sounds? How do syllables get put together that change those sounds? It's a very complex system that we really have to be able to break down to decode every single word individually. And it sounds very simple at the very primary, level, but when you get to multisyllabic words in later grades, I mean, we all still get caught on words, right? And we have to stop when we're reading. We have to break that down a little bit. We can do that quickly because we're accomplished readers. But think about having to do that all of the time while you're trying to read. The breakdown that creates, right, in fluency and vocabulary. And vocabulary is another piece I need to touch on. I haven't really said that, which is another great piece for families too. Experiences, it doesn't have to be words on a page. It can be experiences, right? That's what builds vocabulary, and that's what helps that comprehension piece. So when I break down a word and I can figure out what it says, and then I have some sort of relationship in my mind of what that word means, that's rich vocabulary, which leads to comprehension. So all of that is intertwined with each other.
And that goes back to the community accountability. So we have community organizations and partners who their bread and butter may not be the expertise in reading, in fluency and reading literacy, but they do have expertise in being able to create experiences. And we have amazing just programs and opportunities within the city of Columbus that does just that. And I know Columbus City takes advantage of that, and I'm not going to get it right, but this is the Express. Remind me of what? Thank you. I should have known that. But I mean, the depth and the opportunity that those pathway experiences offer, because it does create opportunities where you can begin to have conversation and understand comprehension in a way that is connecting differently and at a different depth than just being instruction in the classroom.
Absolutely. I think it is that you need 24,000 spoken words per day. Students need to hear that many words per day. And so giving them those different experiences outside of the home will provide them the opportunities for that. A lot of times people are thinking 24,000 words, but it's every word that you're saying, right? And so when you have littles, right, and they're asking a lot of why questions, so instead of us shushing them, if we engage them in conversation and talking about that, then that will, build that vocabulary that she was, talking about, and providing those experiences. And Pathway Express, we always participate in those, but then pre-K, we also do our own monthly family engagement events. This past Saturday, we were at the Art Museum. And so we had an awesome turnout, and just even thinking of exposing students to the Art Museum, that's not a regular experience for most families. And so I can only imagine the conversations that were being had, around art and just, that experience itself. It was amazing. So you're right, that community, those partnerships are essential.
So what are we doing? We talked about some of the initiatives, right, in conversation. So I just wanted to call out some of those initiatives like the Pathway Express, or there are others that we're doing to foster a love of reading here in Columbus City Schools, and with our partners with the United Way. So I'll start this direction this time.
So we're excited in that one of the things that we realize at the United Way is taking a look at this collective impact model. And there are several organizations within the city who have collective impact model, but it's really around recognizing how do we mobilize those resources, for-profit, non-for-profit organizations that come together that really begin to say, kind of what are some of these social conditions and situations that we can really begin to lean into and then support our educational partners along the way. And so certainly some of the things that we've done within the district, we are working with Regions 1 and Regions 3, which is the west side and the east side. But one of the things that came out on the near east side was a recognition that on summer school there were some of our young people who were not going to be passing the at the end of the year the English language arts assessment, and they were having to go to summer school, but they were not able to get to some of the selected summer school sites that were identified in the district. And so the network director, and that's a value add that we give to all of the districts that we work with, is a designated person that supports within the district. And you were an amazing part of that process, and being able, and Kelly Rivers was an amazing part of that process. But really what we began to say was, well, who are the organizations that are already in the community that are already doing summer programming, and how do we partner with them? And so I went and called Kelly, and I'm like, hey, would you be willing to have conversations about curriculum or strategies that our community partners on the east side could have to be able to support? And she said, absolutely. And so we were able to partner and have conversations. We did a PowerPoint. We brought maybe 25, 30 community partners who were doing programming on the near east side together. CCS was fabulous in providing resources and availability, and that's what I mean about collective, right? When you work together, you can maximize. So we were able to connect young people who may not have normally been able to attend or have access to those particular programs within the district to their local areas, and then the district provided resources, and then Scholastic came on board, and we were able to, so what we were trying to do is be able to have this piece and connectivity from what kids are doing during the year to what they're doing this summer. It gave the community partners who were doing summer programming this rich resource from Columbus City. And so now we'll track and we'll see of those students who were able to utilize those activities, where and how does that play out in their fall assessment. And so I give that as an example because it was just kind of one of these organic things that began to just kind of continue to layer and be able to add and have support. And so what we come out of that is organizations who were not necessarily connected with the district, who are now connected with the district, and we can keep that, what I call a through line. We can keep that through line through the year and through the summer again. And so I give that as just one of the many examples that we've been able to do as we've been partnering with the district.
That's right. That is, and that's powerful because oftentimes the students see the community, what they're doing in the community is separate from the school. Or imagine that I go to the rec center, or I go to the community place, and they're saying the same thing that they were saying in school. Right. Oh, maybe I need to listen to that, right?
Yes, absolutely. When everyone's speaking the same language, it's really hard to, do something different.
There's a lot of initiatives going on in the district. So many, it would take us all day just to speak on that, but just to pinpoint a few. About 2 years ago, under Kelly Rivers' direction, we really honed in on an impact model that involved family, community, and schools. Yes. And what can we do to make sure we're leveraging all three of those entities in a child's life? So with schools, we've got the letters training going on, which is a framework to the science of reading. It is not a curriculum, but it is almost like a graduate level course of how the brain works, how the ears work, the auditory system, how all of it comes together and works together to teach a child to read from the fundamental and evidence-based place. So we've worked with our K-5 teachers on that. We are now including our preschool teachers are now being trained on that. It's something that we're taking very slow and very methodical to really take our time to absorb all of that information. So that's step one. For our families, we have created the Together We Read at Home Library initiative, and I'm excited to say we are over 2 million books that we've gotten out to families at this point. Yeah, very exciting. So those are, we've got wonderful vendor partners that we worked with, Scholastic. This year we're bringing in Highlights for Children because we're bringing that Columbus feel into it all, and also helping families understand that it doesn't always have to be a book. It can be a magazine at the doctor's office, which is when I remember reading Highlights all of the time, right? So we will have customized pieces coming from Highlights this year, but all of these things to do away with those statistics of poverty and the number of books that are in a home. We're going to make those go away, and we have been. So we're over 2 million books in that place.
I just wanted to ask, so what is a tip or a strategy that you would give a family to help their readers. And it could be a young reader. You mentioned we have elementary, middle, high, pre-K, the whole gamut. And so what is one tip or strategy that you would give? And I'll start here.
I'm going to say modeling, and that doesn't mean just putting a book in your hand and reading in front of your children. It means when you go to the grocery store, talk to your infant when they're in the carrier, talk to your 3-year-old about what we're going to buy today, talk about the colors of the food that are in your cart. How was your day? Just modeling, having rich conversation, modeling a love of reading, modeling a love of learning new things. Even as adults, we're lifelong learners, and it's always something to celebrate, right? So celebrate your even smallest of wins as an adult, because it allows a child to celebrate their small wins too as a learner.
Wow. That's good. I think that you hit on something that was key, and I think especially when we're thinking of our, the early childhood, is to make it real time, right? Not an additional thing for a family. While you're cooking, while you're grocery shopping, while you're getting gas, just make it a part of your normal daily routine to incorporate literacy. Ask students, what letters, we're going to look for the letter A today. Where do you see the letter A? All of those sorts of things. And I think that is what will be the most powerful for families, right? It's not one more thing. It's not, something else they have to do, especially when they're trying to meet those primary needs, right? If they just incorporate into what you're already doing, I think that would, they would see the fruits of their labor there.
You remind me dating myself because my daughter is a senior now, but when she was younger, we were trying to figure out how are we going to get this reading in, right? How are we going to get this vocabulary in? And she was in Latchkey at the time in Columbus City, and the Latchkey teacher said, have her create the stories and have conversations while you're driving home. And I'm like, well, how long? She asked me, how long does it take to get home? I'm like, 20 minutes. She was like, create the story. I'm like, get out of here. And so we started doing that. And so I had my daughter pick a topic, and we just started building off of it and having conversation and kind of creating this kind of storyline from the school into home. And so I give that to say sometimes we feel like it has to be very structured pieces, but having fun and incorporating it into what you're already doing. And so if you're already baking cookies, then call the young person over and let's make cookies together. If you're already preparing something, or you're mixing, I'm going to date myself now with Kool-Aid, but if you are mixing Kool-Aid, you can do that and just say, let me bring over my child and let's just kind of talk about that and create those experiences that not only are about reading but are about experiencing the world and being with and being connected, and that's an important piece too, I think.
Wow. So model, real time, and make it fun.
Since 1923, United Way has been a trusted partner in Central Ohio, mobilizing the caring power of people, organizations, and businesses in our community, strengthening families and supporting our youth so that they can become the dreamers and doers of tomorrow. It started with the spark of an idea 100 years ago that ignited a movement that united us all. Together, we have raised and invested $1.7 billion, rallied generations of donors, volunteers, and advocates, and impacted and improved millions of lives. And while we may be a century old, we are just getting started, bolstered by the vibrant spirit of our city and the energy of the great people who reside here. We are poised to shape the future of Central Ohio. Join us for the next 100 years as we put all children on the path to success when they leave 3rd grade, stabilize families in times of crisis, and create bold solutions that lead to a more equitable community today and for years to come. If we have proved anything over the last 100 years, it's that when we stand united, we accomplish so much more than anyone can alone. So let's ignite the future by creating a Central Ohio that is full of possibilities, prosperity, and promise for all. Because a century united is a future ignited.
Thank you for tuning into Faces, the show that gives you access to all points Columbus and Columbus City Schools.
From our district departments to community partners, we are bringing families, schools, and communities together for a conversation to discover what connects us all. the joy of learning.
Remember, be courageous.
Be yourself.
Be the light you wish to see.